One accident turned my life into a nightmare, the real culprit was erased from the case, and I was made the convenient villain. It's been 3 months. I still can't sleep. My name won't show up in the headlines anymore, not directly. But if you dig around, you'll find the wreck. The girl. The pregnancy. The man who walked. And me, the guy who had a few beers and was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I already know most people who read this won't believe me. Hell, part of me wonders if I would have believed it myself if it had happened to someone else. But I need to say it. Somewhere. I live in Chicago, been here since college. I'm 31, work in logistics, nothing fancy. I manage routes, drivers, inventory spreadsheets. Quiet life. Rented a 1-bedroom in West Loop until all this happened. It's not home anymore. That night started normal. A coworker, James, was throwing a going-away party. He was moving to Colorado. I wasn't even planning to stay long. Just a few beers, some catch-up with the guys, maybe Uber home. But I drove. Not because I planned to. I just didn't want to leave my car on that side of town overnight. The neighborhood was sketchy after dark, and I'd had just under 3 beers. I wasn't hammered. Buzzed, maybe. Careful. I even remember checking myself in the mirror before heading out. Chewing gum. Windows down. Eyes on the road. It was close to 11:40 when I came up to that intersection. Ashland and 18th. The light was green for me. The crash didn't sound real. Not at first. It wasn't a bang. It was a low, crushing roar. Like metal being wrung out. I saw it all unfold to my left, a black SUV blowing the red and slamming into a small sedan already mid-turn. The force flipped the sedan once, maybe twice. It landed on its side. I stopped. Slammed the brakes. Jumped out. There were 2 other people nearby, a couple on the sidewalk. One guy ran to the SUV. I ran to the crumpled car. I couldn't see her face. The windshield was spidered, airbags everywhere, blood smeared across the cracked glass. Call 911. I shouted. My phone was already in my hand. I remember crouching, reaching into the passenger side through a shattered window. Her hand, small, limp, wedding ring still on, was twitching. I kept telling her to hold on. But she was already gone. The paramedics got there fast. The cops, too. That's when the tone shifted. At first, I thought they were just asking routine questions. What did I see? How long had I been there? What direction was I coming from? Then one of them stepped closer. Took a sniff. You been drinking, sir? I didn't lie. A little. Earlier. Step over here for a minute. Field test. Then the breathalyzer. I blew a 0.06, legal. But close. They took my license. Ran it. Asked me to sit on the curb. I did. The driver of the SUV, some older guy in a tailored coat, silver cufflinks, not a scratch on him, stood off to the side, talking with one of the officers like they were old buddies. That's when I started to feel it. Not guilt, not yet. Something colder. Like I was suddenly outnumbered in a room I didn't know I'd walked into. Later, I'd learn his name. Martin Eckhart. A real estate developer. Tied to some big players in the city. The kind of guy who doesn't get arrested. The kind of guy who, even when he kills someone, always finds a way to make it look like someone else did. And in this case, that someone else was me. I gave my statement. Sat in the back of the ambulance. Let them draw blood for a proper BAC test. They didn't charge me that night. Just said I'd be contacted. The woman, her name was Lila Santos. 28. A teacher. 6 months pregnant with her first child. She died instantly. So did the baby. I found out the next morning when the story hit the news. The headlines weren't subtle. Drunk driver involved in deadly collision, pregnant woman and unborn child killed. My face wasn't there. Not yet. But the description was close enough that people started asking. My sister texted, "Please tell me this isn't you." I didn't reply. That same day, the report came out. The official one. It said something about erratic behavior from the witness, me, impairment, and a failure to yield. Which wasn't even possible. I had the green. They didn't mention Eckhart. Not once. I got a letter from the city 2 days later. I was being investigated. Possible charges pending. Vehicular manslaughter under the influence. Involuntary homicide. My landlord started dropping hints that it might be time to reconsider the lease. My boss told me I should take some time off. Friends stopped calling. Some unfollowed. One even blocked me. My sister, the only family I have, asked me to meet. I did. We sat in a cafe, and she just stared at me. "Just tell me," she said. "Did you do it?" I tried to explain. I told her everything. But she kept shaking her head, like she didn't recognize me. "They said you were over the limit." I wasn't. Then why would they say that? I didn't know. And that was the problem. I hired a lawyer. A decent one. Too expensive. But I had some savings, and he said what I needed to hear: "If what you're saying is true, we'll fight this." But the system had other plans. Eckhart's team submitted security footage, just one clip, from a weird angle that barely showed the crash. They claimed I'd been speeding. That my presence at the scene had distracted the woman. They even hinted that I might have been trying to cross the intersection improperly. It was a full rewrite. And I could feel it, the world slowly believing their version more than mine. I'll stop here for now. There's more. A lot more. But even writing this much has me shaking. I didn't kill her. I was just trying to help. But in this city, truth has less power than money. And I'm running out of both. You grow up thinking truth is a shield. That if you tell it straight, it'll protect you. That's not how it works. The blood test results came back, 0.058. Still under the legal limit. Still not drunk. But that wasn't the story being told. My lawyer, name's Cal Evans, wiry guy, mid-40s, voice like gravel, met me in a dingy office near the courthouse. Second meeting. He had a folder in his hand and a cigarette he didn't light, just chewed on the filter. "They're going for manslaughter," he said. "But I didn't even touch the car. They don't care. The woman's dead. Baby too. And you blew over 0. Under the legal. Doesn't matter. The prosecutor's playing optics. Pregnant schoolteacher. Drunk guy at the scene. Eckhart's name isn't even in the report anymore. They've scrubbed it." I leaned back. My head felt like it was full of broken glass. Cal kept going. "They've already run this story through the stations. Local news is eating it up. Public wants a villain. They've got your face now." 2 weeks later, I got doxxed. Someone found my old college ID photo and plastered it next to a headline that said, "This man killed a pregnant woman and walked away." Walked away. Like I didn't call 911. Like I didn't try to stop the bleeding. Like I wasn't the one who had to see her face up close. After that, everything fell apart faster than I expected. I lost my job. Not officially, they said it was mutual separation, but I had to turn in my badge and laptop the same day HR called me in. They were polite, even sympathetic. One of them, this guy named Jordan, wouldn't meet my eyes. The landlord? Gave me a 30-day notice. Said something about negative attention and protecting the building's image. My sister stopped replying to texts. Only one person stuck around. Alex, an old friend from work. He let me crash on his couch. Said he believed me. But I saw how he started locking his bedroom door at night. Just in case. There's a kind of quiet that follows you when you're accused of something you didn't do. A heavy, sticky silence that makes people avoid your name. The cops called me back in. Just a follow-up, they said. They had the new footage. The dashcam from Eckhart's SUV. But something was off, the timestamp skipped, and the angle didn't show the light he ran. They showed me a slowed-down clip where it looked like I hesitated at the light, which they interpreted as uncertain driving behavior, potentially impaired. I wasn't even in the crash. I kept saying that. I wasn't involved. You were a contributing factor. What does that mean? It means the DA might argue you caused hesitation in the victim's vehicle. Possibly distracted her. Possibly altered her reaction time. She had the right of way. Maybe. But it's all interpretation now. They offered me a deal a week later. No jail time, Cal said. You plead to reckless endangerment. Maybe community service. But your record's shot. No more clean slate. And if I fight it? You lose, it's 5 years minimum. Manslaughter. I looked at him. Do you think I can win? Cal didn't answer. It's been 5 weeks since the crash. Lila's funeral made the front page. There were candles, flowers, a mural. Photos of her smiling in a classroom, one hand on her pregnant belly. They call her a martyr now. And maybe she is. I still see her face when I close my eyes. I don't know what I'll do next. I haven't taken the plea. Not yet. Part of me still believes that if I hold out, if I show them every scrap of truth, someone will listen. But another part knows better. Knows that when power and reputation are on the other side, your truth doesn't matter. Only the narrative. They chose theirs the second I said I'd had a drink. And the worst part? Even I'm starting to doubt myself. A few nights ago, I dreamed I was still in my car. Same road, same light, same silence before the crash. Except this time, I turned left. Straight into it. I saw the headlights coming and I didn't flinch. Woke up soaked in sweat. I've been crashing at Alex's for over a month now. He's too kind to say anything, but I can feel the weight in the air every time I sit on his couch. I try to stay out of his way. Cook. Clean. Wash dishes that aren't mine. But the walls are thin. I heard him the other night on the phone with someone, maybe his girlfriend. No, I don't think he did it. But this whole thing's just off. You should have seen his eyes. He's not wrong. I've stopped recognizing myself in the mirror too. My lawyer, Cal, called me yesterday. His voice was tight. Clipped. They're turning the screws, he said. DA's hinting at new evidence. They won't tell me what it is yet, but I have a feeling. What kind of evidence? Eyewitness. Some guy came forward last week. Said he saw you stumble out of your car before the crash. Said you looked dazed. I nearly laughed. Funny. No one mentioned that the night of. Not the cops. Not the EMTs. Not even the couple standing 10 feet away. Doesn't matter, Cal said. It's on the record now. Who is he? Won't say. But I did some digging. Name's probably Alan Griggs. Works security for one of Eckhart's subsidiaries. Coincidence, I'm sure. I walked to the corner store after that call, just to feel the air. People still stare at me sometimes. Probably not even because they recognize me, I think I just give off a kind of heat now. Like a wire that's been burning too long. At the register, the cashier, kid couldn't be older than 22, scanned my bottled water and squinted at me. You that guy from the news? I didn't answer. He scanned the rest, bagged it. You look like that guy who killed the pregnant woman. I paid in silence. Walked out before he could finish whatever clever thing he had loaded up next. Later that night, Alex asked what I was going to do. I don't know. They could still offer you another deal. Yeah. Plead guilty. Take the stain. Better than prison. Is it? He didn't say anything after that. Just nodded, like someone who finally realized he was talking to a sinking ship. I looked up Lila's husband yesterday. His name's Adam. I found him on a memorial page, thanking strangers for their donations. I scrolled through every word he wrote. She was the light of my life. She was going to be a mom. She didn't deserve this. He's right. But I wanted to tell him I didn't do it. I wanted to say, I was just trying to help. Then I thought, how would that sound to him? Would it matter? The system needs someone to carry this. They've already painted the mural. Someone has to be the shadow in the background. Cal sent me a scanned copy of the state's official reconstruction report. It says I was traveling at an estimated 38 miles per hour in a 35 zone. It says I delayed braking by 0.4 seconds compared to optimal reaction time. It says I could have avoided involvement entirely by choosing alternate routes or transportation, given alcohol presence. Alternate routes. That's how they say you shouldn't have existed there. Tomorrow, I have to appear in court for the pre-trial motion. Cal said I don't need to speak. Just show up, sit still, wear a tie. He told me not to make eye contact with the victim's family. He told me to look remorseful, but not guilty. Said juries like that. Said it shows humanity. I don't even know what I look like anymore. Some nights I still wonder, if I hadn't driven, if I just called an Uber, none of this would have happened. But then I remember, Eckhart still would have run that light. Lila still would have died. The only difference is I wouldn't be here, telling you this. I didn't kill her. But the world needs me to have done it. And the truth? It's somewhere out there, limping along behind the headlines, waiting to be buried. Courtrooms are quieter than I imagined. Not the dramatic, echoing halls you see on TV. Just stale air, plastic benches, paper shuffling, murmured legalese. It was just a motion hearing, no jury yet, no full trial. But it still felt like walking into a lion's den wearing a sign that read, "I'm the guy who killed the teacher." I sat behind Cal, hands folded like he told me. Clean-shaven, black suit, borrowed tie. My stomach churned so hard I didn't eat all morning. The prosecutor stood like he'd already won. I can't even remember his name, white guy, maybe mid-50s, gray hair, slick voice. Everything he said sounded like it was being read off a script. Given the severity of the incident and the impairment acknowledged by the defendant. Impairment. Like I was slurring and stumbling. Like I hadn't already proven my BAC was under. Cal stood. Calm. Tired. He countered with facts. The defendant was not involved in the crash. He rendered aid. He called emergency services. He submitted to tests voluntarily. He cooperated fully. The judge didn't say much. Didn't need to. You can feel it, when the room's already made up its mind. They introduced the new witness statement. This so-called security guard said he saw me weaving slightly as I approached the intersection. Said he heard my tires screech before the crash, even though I was several car lengths back. Cal objected. Asked for a review of the witness's connection to Eckhart. Denied. Not relevant to this phase, the judge said. After court, Cal and I sat outside on the concrete steps. I lit a cigarette. I hadn't smoked in years, but I bummed one from a stranger while Cal was talking to the clerk. He came back with his jaw clenched. They're fast-tracking. Trial dates in 6 weeks. I just nodded. Watched the traffic roll by like none of this mattered. That night, I broke. Not all at once, just cracks forming in quiet places. I tried writing a letter to Adam, Lila's husband. It was 3 a.m. I sat at Alex's kitchen table with a pen and notebook. Wrote one line. Crossed it out. Wrote another. Crumpled the page. I didn't do it, just didn't seem enough. What can you say to a man whose life was split open at the same moment yours was? What comfort is truth when the only thing people want is a villain? Alex found me the next morning sitting outside with the same crumpled letter in my hand. Maybe you should take the deal, he said. Quiet. Not judgmental. Just worn out. You think I did it? He didn't answer. That's the worst part, not when people accuse you, but when the people closest to you stop defending you. When they decide they're not sure anymore. A few days later, someone spray-painted murderer on the side of Alex's car. He didn't tell me. I saw it myself, walking up the driveway. He just looked at me, then at the ground. I'm sorry, I said. I know, he said. But I can't do this much longer. He didn't have to explain. I packed my things the next day. I sleep in a motel now. $62 a night. Smells like mildew. I keep the curtains closed, even during the day. The room has that sick yellow glow, like the inside of a dying lung. I stare at the ceiling a lot. Wonder how much it would take to just disappear. How far I'd have to drive before no one knew who I was. But then what? Lila would still be dead. Her child, gone. Eckhart, untouched. And me, just another whisper on the wind, remembered only as the guy who walked away from justice. I didn't walk away. I ran into it. Tried to help. Tried to stop the bleeding. I didn't even know her name until I read it in the paper the next day. Now it's etched into me. I still don't know what I'll do in court. Part of me wants to scream. The other part's too tired to lift its head. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's how they win. I applied for 12 jobs last week. All remote, all entry level. I didn't use my real name. Used an old resume. A Gmail account I haven't touched since college. Didn't matter. The algorithm found me anyway. Background checks. Keyword filters. One rejection came with a line that hit harder than the rest. In light of recent events associated with your identity, we are unable to proceed. Recent events. Like I was a hurricane. A natural disaster. Something to be avoided, not understood. Cal called me again. They're building a narrative, he said. Wants versus needs. The DA's good at it. They're gonna sell this thing to the jury like you're the drunk who almost made it home. The guy who wouldn't call a cab. The guy who, if he'd stayed home, that woman would still be alive. But that's not true. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to feel true. I walk a lot now. Don't really have anywhere to be, but I walk anyway. Keeps the walls from closing in. The motel's near a church. Not one I go to, but they keep their doors open during the day. One afternoon I stepped inside just to get out of the sun. Sat in the back row. Just me and a few candles. A priest walked by, nodded politely. Didn't ask questions. Just let me sit there. I thought about confession. Thought about what I'd even say. Forgive me, Father, for I told the truth and it wasn't enough. A couple nights ago, I finally watched the local news segment that kicked all this off. I'd been avoiding it, afraid of what I'd see, how they'd twist it. They used a photo of Lila smiling with her class. Kids holding up handmade cards. Then it cut to a blurry street cam still, me on the curb, sitting against my car, hands in my hair. The anchor's voice was calm, rehearsed. The man at the scene, identified as 31-year-old Daniel Hart, was found to have alcohol in his system. While not officially charged at the time, new developments suggest a pattern of behavior that may have contributed to the fatal crash. Pattern of behavior. You'd think I'd killed someone before. They mentioned the victim's family calling for accountability. Mentioned community outrage. Mentioned a GoFundMe that had raised over $100,000. Didn't mention Eckhart. Not once. There's a coffee shop I go to sometimes. One of the last places where people don't recognize me, or pretend they don't. A woman there once asked what I was writing. I told her I was working on a story. That's brave, she said. Telling your truth. She smiled like it was some kind of noble thing. She has no idea. The DA submitted another motion. They want to block my lawyer from bringing up Eckhart in court. Slander, they say. Cal's furious. He's the one who ran the light. This guy's practically a ghost in the file now. It's like he was never there. You can prove he was, though, right? Cal didn't answer. That silence, it told me everything. I dream about the crash more often now. But it's not just the moment itself, it's what comes after. The sirens. The questions. The way the EMT looked at me when I said I was fine. Like he wanted to say, "Are you?" And always Lila. Not her face, not clearly. Just her silhouette. Her hand twitching. That ring catching the light. Sometimes I wake up clutching my own hands like I'm still trying to stop the bleeding. I met with Cal yesterday in person. He looked tired. Maybe worse than me. You need to think about the plea again, he said. They might add reckless homicide if we push too hard. That's prison time. Years. But I didn't. I know. I know. But they're not looking for truth. They're looking for closure. I'm writing this now from the motel parking lot. It's almost midnight. Someone just set off fireworks in the distance, or maybe it was a car backfiring. Either way, it startled me. That's who I am now. The guy who jumps at loud noises. The guy who won't touch alcohol. The guy no one really wants to know anymore. You ever feel like your life is being rewritten in real time? Like every day the version of you that actually existed is fading? I didn't kill her. But the city's got a headline. And it doesn't have room for footnotes. The offer's still on the table. That's what Cal keeps telling me. Like it's a gift. Like pleading guilty to something I didn't do is a favor the court's extending to me. No prison, he says. 2 years probation. Counseling. Community service. You get your life back. I want to ask him, which life? Because the one I had? That's already gone. Yesterday I got a letter. Typed. No return address. Just my name and room number written in ink. Inside, one sentence. The blood is on your hands. No signature. No explanation. Just those words and a smear of red across the bottom. Could have been ink. Could have been something else. I didn't show it to Cal. What could he do? I went by the crash site last night. First time since that night. The intersection's different now. New paint on the lanes. Fresh signs. Almost like the city wanted to erase what happened, patch it over like a pothole. There's a utility box at the corner, covered in stickers and graffiti. Someone taped a picture of Lila to it. One of those laminated memorial posters. Flowers tucked behind the metal lip. Underneath her photo, someone had scrawled in black marker. Justice for Lila. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't feel anger. Not even fear. Just hollow. Like standing inside a body that wasn't mine anymore. Cal said the DA's office is leaning hard on the witness testimony now. The security guard, Griggs. I asked Cal how much they were paying him. He just sighed. Doesn't matter. Jury won't hear that. Alex sent me a message. First time since I moved out. Saw the news. They're still calling you the driver. Not even witness. Just thought you should know. I read it 5 times before replying. Thanks. That was it. No more texts after that. He did his part. Let me stay. Watched me fade. My motel neighbor, guy in the next room, knocks on my door sometimes when he's high. Asks if I have smokes. Or if I want to see something wild. Last time, he showed me a half-melted Barbie doll he'd spray-painted black and nailed to a plank. It's art, he said. I said, it looks like suffering. He grinned. Same thing. I dreamt about court again. In the dream, I walked in naked. Everyone turned. The judge banged his gavel and pointed at me like I was some animal that got loose from its cage. You weren't supposed to be here, he said. I didn't do it, I replied. He shrugged. But you didn't stop it either. Sometimes I think about Lila's last moments. How much she knew. If she saw the SUV coming. If she had time to feel fear. I hope she didn't. I hope it was instant. That's the only mercy I can cling to. The day after the crash, I told the first cop everything. The light. The angle. The color. The speed. He wrote it down, nodded, and said, "We'll look into it." That's the last time I saw him. His name was Officer McNeely. I asked Cal about him once. Transferred, he said. Somewhere upstate. Right. My trial date is set. 32 days from now. Cal's pushing again. We could still take the plea. It won't be there much longer. But there's something no one gets. If I say I did it, it doesn't end. Not for me. Because every time I look in the mirror, I'll see a liar. And every time I hear her name, I'll wonder if I could have saved her by just staying quiet, or if I made it worse by speaking up. I didn't kill Lila Santos. I didn't cause the crash. But I was there. And that, in their eyes, is enough. I used to be someone. Not famous, not important. But someone people knew. Someone they called to help move apartments, fix their router, bring beer to the party. Someone people remembered. Now, I'm the guy they cross the street to avoid. The guy they whisper about in line. The guy whose name sounds like a warning. Trial prep started this week. Cal laid it all out in his cluttered office, legal pads stacked around him like walls. He's tired. So am I. But he hasn't quit on me, and I owe him for that. Here's the thing, he said, pointing to a highlighted paragraph in the DA's motion. They're framing you not just as reckless, but as deceptive. How? They're leaning hard on your early statements. Saying you downplayed your drinking. That you weren't fully transparent at the scene. I just stared at him. I told them I had a few drinks. They're saying you hesitated. That you minimized. I wasn't drunk. They know that. But they're not selling fact. They're selling intention. That's when it hit me. They weren't trying to prove I did it. They were trying to make it feel like I could have. We went over the footage again. Dashcam, body cam, traffic light recordings. Everything. In one clip, you can see my car roll to a stop. No swerving. No speeding. Just me, braking, like I was supposed to. In another, you hear my voice on the 911 call. Clear. Focused. Scared, but not slurred. Not drunk. Cal nodded at that part. It helps. It shows presence of mind. But the problem is, none of it's dramatic. Nothing shows Eckhart blowing the red in a way that screams killer. No perfect angle. No smoking gun. And the system doesn't care about nuance. They care about stories. I found an old voicemail on my phone from my sister. Dated 3 days after the accident. I'd never opened it before. Her voice was soft, almost unrecognizable. Danny. I want to believe you. I really do. But I keep seeing her picture. That woman. And the baby. I don't know. I don't know who you are right now. Click. That was the last time she tried to contact me. I never responded. Eckhart's lawyers filed another motion. This one requesting protection from defamation. They claimed Cal's mention of Eckhart in early filings created undue media speculation. Speculation. That's the word they use when you accuse a man with connections. The motel manager told me I have until the end of the week. Some reporter found me. Knocked on my door, recorder in hand. I didn't answer. Just watched from behind the curtain until he walked away. Now I'm disruptive to other guests. Doesn't matter. I've packed everything already. My entire life fits in 2 bags. Funny how fast that happens. At night I replay that moment at the intersection over and over. The green light. The slam of metal. The stillness after. And sometimes I wonder, what if I had been drunk? What if I had caused it? Would that feel more manageable than this? At least I'd understand the weight on my chest. At least there'd be a reason. But no. This is the kind of pain that comes from knowing the truth and realizing it's worthless. I haven't heard from Lila's family. Not that I expected to. But I wonder if they'll be in court. If they'll look at me. If they'll hate me. I wonder if they've ever seen Eckhart's name. Or if they've been fed the same lie I'm choking on. The date's closing in. 25 days. And I still don't know if I'm walking into a courtroom. Or a funeral. It's hard to describe the feeling of being prejudged. Not by a person, but by the air itself. You walk into a room and feel it cling to you, that weight. Like guilt that doesn't belong to you but won't leave your shoulders. That's what trial prep feels like. Cal and I met with a jury consultant last week. Some guy in his 50s with a soft voice and dead eyes. He'd been doing this a long time, picking faces, reading rooms, helping lawyers decide who might believe someone like me. He flipped through photos of mock jurors like he was choosing lunch. This woman, he said, tapping the corner of a headshot. Schoolteacher. Lost a nephew to a DUI. Avoid. This guy? He tapped again. Blue collar. Lost his job in '08. Distrusts the system. He'll want to believe your client. Your client. Not Daniel. Not me. Just the accused. We ran mock questions. How do you feel about alcohol and driving? What would you consider reckless behavior? Do you think someone can be responsible for a tragedy without directly causing it? That last one stuck with me. Because I already knew the answer. Cal says we need character witnesses. But who do I call? My boss, who let me go. My sister, who doesn't return my calls. Alex, who already helped and now wants distance. The truth is, the people who used to vouch for me, they've gone quiet. Some out of fear. Some out of shame. Some because they don't want to be tainted by proximity. There's a website with all the public court records for my case. I check it sometimes. I don't know why, maybe it's masochism. Maybe it's because I want to see if anything has changed. This week, they uploaded a new document, Victim Impact Statement. It's sealed, of course. But just knowing it's there. It makes it real in a new way. There's someone out there writing down how much this destroyed them. And my name, even if it shouldn't be, is part of it. I walked past the courthouse today. Just stood across the street and stared at it for a while. The building's old. Stone. Worn. I imagined my feet walking up those stairs. I imagined the cuffs. Then I imagined walking out the front doors free, but branded. Because that's what they don't tell you, even if you win, you don't win. You just stop bleeding in public. I got an email yesterday. From a woman I barely remember. We went to college together. She wrote. I saw your name on the news. I don't know what's true, but I wanted to say I remember you being kind. Thought you should hear that. It wrecked me. Not because of what she said. but because it felt like the last gasp of a person I used to be. 20 days left. That's how long until I walk into that courtroom and sit across from a system that's already decided what I feel like. That's how long until strangers decide whether I'm a liar, a killer, or just the guy who didn't drink enough to die, only enough to get blamed. They say the truth sets you free. But I'm learning that truth only matters if someone's willing to carry it with you. And right now, I'm walking alone. 17 days. That's what's left before trial. I don't count days the way I used to, not like waiting for a vacation, a birthday, a paycheck. This kind of countdown feels like waiting for an execution that might not come, but leaves a rope swinging over your head anyway. I went by the library this morning. Not to read, I haven't had the focus for that in months, but because it's one of the few public places that still feels anonymous. No TVs. No whispers. Just silence. I sat by the window and watched the rain smear the world. And I thought about something I hadn't let myself think in a while. What if I just plead guilty? It wouldn't be prison. Cal said that much. Probation. Community service. A record that would follow me for the rest of my life, sure, but I'd walk out of court. I could disappear somewhere. Change my name. Start over. People have done worse. But then I picture myself signing that plea deal. Sitting there while they read the charges and I say, guilty, out loud. And I can't breathe. Because that would mean giving them what they want, a villain they can wrap in ribbon and tuck away. And it would mean letting the truth die in that room, sealed under fluorescent lights and courtroom carpeting. Cal thinks I should consider it. You don't have to decide now, he said. But you should think about what it costs to win. I didn't say it out loud, but I already know. It costs everything. I looked up Lila's obituary today. I'd read it once before, but this time I read it slower. Word by word. She was kind, dedicated, and full of light. Her students adored her. Her family cherished her. Her child was going to be named Elijah. That broke something in me. The name. Elijah. It made it real in a way nothing else had. I didn't just witness a crash. I witnessed a life stop. 2 lives. And now mine is stuck in the pause between. There's a man I see sometimes on the bench outside the courthouse. Homeless, I think. Talks to himself. Sits in the same spot every afternoon, rain or shine. I sat beside him today. Didn't speak. After a while he looked over at me and said, "You going in or coming out?" I shrugged. Don't know yet. He nodded like that made perfect sense. You ever been inside? I asked. Yeah, he said. Once. Didn't go how I thought. What happened? He smiled, a tired, crooked thing. I told the truth. Nobody liked it. That's the thing about truth. It's not always loud. Or clean. Or easy to carry. Sometimes it just sits with you, like a bruise that never fades. You press it, and it reminds you what it cost. I still replay it. That night. The woman's hand. The blood on the airbag. My voice shaking as I told the dispatcher where we were. I still smell the smoke. Still see the SUV's headlights frozen in time. Still hear the way the paramedics looked at me, like they were trying to solve an equation they didn't have the numbers for. I didn't kill her. But I was there. And that means something. Even if I don't know what. 17 days. Then they decide who I am. And I don't think I'll get to speak first. 12 days left. Cal says they're wrapping jury selection. Mostly blue-collar, some retirees. A few teachers. No one who knew Lila personally, but that doesn't mean they won't see her in their minds when I take the stand. That's what Cal's worried about. Not the facts. Not the footage. Emotion. You're not on trial for what happened, he told me again today. You're on trial for how it feels to the people watching. I haven't heard from my sister in 2 months. But last night, I found a voicemail waiting. Her voice was soft, like she'd been crying. I don't know what to say anymore. Part of me wants to believe you. Part of me is afraid to. But if you're still the brother I remember, then, fight. That's all I can say. Fight for what's true. I didn't delete it. Didn't reply either. Some silences need to breathe. I've packed a bag. Not because I'm going anywhere, but because I don't know what to expect after the verdict. If they find me guilty, I won't get to come back here. If they don't, I won't want to. Either way, this room, this life, ends when the gavel drops. I walk more now. At night. Through streets that don't know my name. I pass houses with porch lights and quiet windows, and I wonder what it would be like to live in one again. To sit on a couch and not worry about headlines. To fall asleep without counting days. Sometimes I imagine Lila inside one of those houses. Alive. Laughing. Holding her son. And I wonder if, deep down, the world decided someone had to pay for taking that away. I just happened to be the one who stayed at the scene. The motel manager asked me if I needed the room passed next week. I told him I didn't know. He didn't ask why. Maybe he already knew. Cal showed me the final list of exhibits. My blood test. The dashcam footage. The 911 call. Photos of the wreckage. Diagrams. Testimony. All the bones of a story that used to be mine, now pulled apart and reshaped into whatever the court needs it to be. And Lila. Lila will be there in every breath, every pause, every tear her family sheds in the gallery. They'll see her in me. That's the hardest part. That I'm not a person anymore. I'm a stand-in for grief. A placeholder for justice. A name on a file that needed someone to blame. I haven't taken the deal. And I won't. Not because I think I'll win. But because if I let them make me a liar, then everything I've carried, all the pain, the silence, the wreckage, becomes pointless. I didn't run that light. I didn't kill her. I was just there. But that truth is all I have left. And if I have to die on that hill, legally, metaphorically, whatever the hell it turns out to be, then so be it. This is my last night writing here. Tomorrow I'll shave, put on a suit, and walk into a room where strangers will decide if I'm a killer or just unlucky. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just telling you this happened. Because it could have been you. A wrong place. A single drink. A system that already made up its mind. Truth doesn't always win. But it still matters. And it still belongs to me.